racial inequality, American policy till I kicked off the fight. What act of mine led havoc to ensue? How come I caused such buzz? What shocking behavior did I do? Well, I sat on a bus. You sat on a bus. I sat on a bus. You sat on a bus. You wanna know why? I sat on that bus.
I'll stop that there. That song is called I Sat on the Bus, and it tells the story. It's on Horrible Histories if you want to look for that on YouTube and actually follow the story on there. It tells the story of today's inspiring person. And again, thanks Esme for this theme. This reminds me of the line in our school prayer that says, give us the courage to stand up for good. And maybe when you're thinking about what you want to achieve in your life, that might be something that's important to you, to stand up for good, to stand up for the rights and the equalities maybe of people who haven't always had those rights, and to do what's good in the world. Maybe you want to get into politics. Makes me think of Holly Lynch, our local MP. And if you didn't know, children and parents, Holly was a pupil at Northowram Primary School and has gone on to dedicate her life to public service, to standing up for good and doing what she feels is right. But today's person is not Holly Lynch, although we could do a whole assembly on her. She's got a great story as well. Today's story is about the lady that song was about, and it's about Rosa Parks. And we have told Rosa's story before, but since I've got these new books, there was David from yesterday and Rosa today, I'm going to tell you her story today, and think about what an inspiring person she was. She had to have a lot of courage to stand up for good and to stand up for what was right. Okay, so this is Little People, Big Dreams, Rosa Parks. Let's find out about her story. So this is set in America. Rosa grew up near Montgomery, Alabama, with her brother, mother, and grandparents. She was very little as a little girl, but she was also very brave, and she always tried to do what was right. And maybe that's a bit like you. Maybe you're someone who's very fair, always looking out for other people and always doing the right thing that is fair and right. When she was young, Rosa's grandparents told her stories about slavery. We've talked about slavery before, when black people weren't free to live like other people. Well, slavery was over, but times were still hard for Rosa and her family. Black people were treated very badly and told that they were not equal to white people. Goodness me, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? But that's the community that little Rosa, when she was just your age, grew up in. I think she thought she needed to do something about that. Every day, Rosa watched the school bus go by, taking white children to their big school. It didn't stop her. She had to walk a long way to the one-room school that was just for black children. Goodness me, that's not right, is it? That's called segregation, where different types of people are kept separate from each other. Thank goodness that doesn't happen now. Well, Rosa knew that this wasn't right. She knew she was just a regular person and just as good as everyone else. Lots of times she had to make sure other people knew it too. I think she probably had some quite tough times, did Rosa, as a little girl. I think there was a lot of racism and inequality around in America at that time. Well, Rosa grew up and she got a job in the city. She worked hard, but she couldn't use the same doors, lifts, bathrooms or even water fountains as the white people. Goodness me, have a look at that picture, children. Can you see how everything is labelled for like white and then it says coloured, so that everybody was meant to be using different things? It's not right, is it? It's crazy. Rosa fell in love with a man named Raymond who was trying to change the rules to be more fair and equal. And soon Rosa started working too, trying to get more rights for black people and to help those who were treated badly. She worked day after day, even when it seemed like nothing would ever change. So she had to be courageous and resilient to try to get the changes that she needed. Maybe trying to get the vote and trying to get equal rights. One day, on her way home from the city, A bus driver told Rosa to stand up when she was in her seat so a white person could take her seat. She was sick of the rules that she knew were wrong. She thought, enough. She said, no. And there she is, perfectly right, sitting in her seat, and she was asked to give it up for a white person, and she said no. This took a lot of courage because she's going to get into trouble for that. Rosa was taken to jail. She wasn't scared because she knew what she was fighting for was right. There she is, imagine that, being put into jail for doing something like that. When Rosa came home that night, she talked with her friends and family about what to do. She decided to keep fighting no matter how hard it would be. Well, black people all over the city heard what had happened to Rosa and they thought, enough. Rosa inspired them to stop riding the buses until the rules changed. So they walked to school and to work and to the shops in all kinds of weather. Rosa travelled the country from New York to San Francisco to convince other people to join the fight. And she was even in the newspapers and she made lots of speeches. Perhaps you're a confident person. Perhaps you could imagine some kind of career or things to do in your life that involves talking to people about the things that they need to change to make the world a better place. Finally, after 1 year, the Supreme Court decided that treating black people differently from white people on buses was wrong. The rules were going to change. But it was no longer safe for Rosa to live in Alabama. She moved to Detroit and she carried on her work there, fighting for fair schools, jobs and houses for black people. She fought for voting rights, women's rights and the rights of people in prison. What a strong woman she was, even when it made things dangerous for her. When Rosa was an older woman, she was given awards and told she was a hero. But she knew who she was. Just a normal person, but just as good as everyone else. And she had work to do. And you know, she carried on doing this work until she was an old lady. Standing up for good. Give us the strength to stand up for good. I wonder if there's some photographs at the back here. Ah, there we go. So there's a little bit there when she was a really young woman. There. That looks like when she was in prison, doesn't it? For saying no and saying she wouldn't give up her seat. And then here she is later on in life. So there we go. Another inspiring person today, Rosa Parks. She had the courage to stand up for good. Maybe that's something that you want to do with your life. It's a very important thing that she did, isn't it? There are lots of things that still need to get better in our world. And maybe, just like Holly Lynch, our local MP, maybe you've got some ambition to do that and to serve the community. That's a really good thing to do. So far, we've had David Attenborough, who's inspired us because he's helped us to think about the importance of looking after our beautiful world. And Rosa Parks, who has inspired us because she stood up for equality, which is also really important. Who knows who we might have in tomorrow's assembly? I'm going to keep you guessing. I'll try and give you some clues, though, to the next one at the start of the next assembly. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. I'll see you later. Bye for now.